Bottled water companies do not produce water, they produce plastic bottles. Tom and Jerry is one of the most distinct case of child vs adult perspective, in which as a child you think Jerry is witty and correct, but as an adult you see that Tom is being bullied by Jerry whilst attempting to live his life as a normal house cat. It's funny how, as you progress through college, they require you to write longer and longer papers. Then you get to the professional world and no one will read an email that's more than 5 sentences. Someone just decided blue ink pens were equally as acceptable as black and everyone just played along. Looking for a job is about convincing a bunch of Mr. Krabs that you're a SpongeBob when you're actually a Patrick, until you slowly become Squidward. Not being a Game of Thrones fan today feels like being a non-football fan on Super Bowl Sunday. Vanilla becoming the default flavor of ice cream is the greatest underdog story of all time. Tom and Jerry are best friends. But Tom has to pretend to hate Jerry in order to protect Jerry, so Tom's owner doesn't replace Tom with a cat that actually wants to kill Jerry. Your salary is your company's monthly subscription fee of you. Comic-Con is the best way to see what your favorite characters would look like if they let themselves get out of shape. At a certain point in your life, sitting at home alone, watching TV on a Friday night goes from being super depressing to the most enjoyable part of your week. Male country singers talk about how good they are to women, while female country singers talk about how terrible the men are. Our parents warned us for years about the dangers of the internet while knowing nothing about it, then finally dove in and fell for every single one. 200 years ago, people would never have guessed that humans in the future would communicate by silently tapping on glass. When you buy pizza from a place that sells it by the slice, you're essentially having a pizza party with a bunch of strangers that day. Peer pressure as an adult is seeing your neighbor mow their lawn. Grass is fucking weird. It's a living organism, and it's everywhere. There's so much of it, and it will probably never go extinct. It's so common that its absence would actually be more noticeable than its existence. Nobody ever thinks about it, but it gets even weirder if you think about it longer. In 1920 kids thought 100 years from now, people must have flying cars. But really, a massive worldwide network of data utilizing the processing power of billions of devices allowing complex communication across the globe is somehow more impressive. Imagine how rich you would have had to be 200 years ago to have music playing in the background while you cook dinner. Knowing you have the next day off is more relieving than the actual day off. When we're young, we sneak out our house to go to parties. When we're old, we sneak out of parties to go home. The banana is no longer the food item that looks most foam-like. The Pop-Tart is. Instead of a mummy's curse, in a couple hundred years when archaeologists are sitting through data on old computers, someone's accidentally going to unleash an ancient computer virus into their network. When looking at the stars, you become the unique, final resting place for billions of photons that traveled thousands of light years only to make your life a little brighter. The Kardashian family is made up of a man who transformed into a woman, tire Sue's, sisters who so ravenously crave attention they'll do anything to get it, harpies, and a mother slowly turning to stone due to plastic surgery, Niobe. The Kardashians are Greek myths come to life for the 21st century. In 10 to 15 years gamer dads will join the sports dads who could have gone pro if it weren't for. If you think you ever fucked up bad, just remember somewhere an ant brought borax-laced food to the colony killing the queen and the colony. Pirates have always seemed good about employing people with physical disabilities. When you walk through a grocery store and they are playing good music, you have become their target demographic. Waking up in the morning sometimes feels like resuming a shitty movie you decided to quit watching. The most unrealistic thing about spy movies is how clean the air ventilation system is. If humans were ever to prove the theory that our universe is a simulation, it would simultaneously become the moment when artificial intelligence becomes self-aware, ironically making humanity the artificial intelligence all along. That no alcohol beyond this point might as well say, bet you can't chug that whole beer. Babies don't know dreams aren't real, so they must think they have some crazy adventures with you every day. People don't really want to go back to a time when the world was simpler. They want to go back to a time when they didn't understand how complicated the world has always been. Due to most people not having full-blown professional kitchens, a cooking show that only uses basic ingredients and a microwave to create dishes would probably be pretty popular. There must be millions of people who still spell out beautiful in their head the same way Jim Carrey did in Bruce Almighty. A college class is like Dora the Explorer. The professor asks a question, stares blankly for a few seconds, then answers his own question. You are probably closer to being a millionaire than Bill Gates. One day Rick Astley will die and no one will click on the headline. We've reached an oddly secure place as a species when we're rooting for the number of tigers and lions in nature to increase. People with anxiety are basically way too aware of being alive. You can tell a lot about an organization by the quality of the toilet paper they provide for their employees. For being a high school in Europe, Hogwarts has a surprising lack of cigarettes. There's probably some women out there whose children secretly belong to the wrong man and are freaking out about the fact that people are taking DNA tests for fun. Cashiers in US are not allowed to sit because it is impolite, but no one knows who finds it impolite except the hypothetical some people. The title of oldest person alive is a relatively permanent one. Once you earn it, you get to keep it for the rest of your life. The guy who killed Batman's parents saved tons of lives. 0%, 99%, and 100% are the most worrying numbers to see a progress bar pause a long time on. If future historians don't know how to decode multiple layers of sarcasm, the internet's really going to throw them off. As a kid, you are bullied by people who don't like you, and your friends are nice. Once you're older, you're bullied by your friends, and people who don't like you are nice. Knowledge is knowing that you can carry all of the groceries in at once. Wisdom is making multiple trips so that by the time you are done, other family members have put away most of the groceries. A shark eating a human thinking it's a seal is the equivalent of a human eating a raisin cookie thinking it was chocolate chip. In SpongeBob, there are times when SpongeBob goes to work and Patrick is already there eating a Krabby Patty. This implies that there is another chef that works before SpongeBob. Getting a song stuck in your head wouldn't be so bad if it was the full song instead of 10 seconds on loop. If women were the ones with the ball sack, there would be so many bogus scrotal beautification products like special braces and wraps to keep it tight and smooth as you age. A 3-day break, you feel well rested? A 5+ day break, you forget how to be a productive member of society. It's hard to let someone know that they're bad at taking criticism. Fahrenheit is basically asking humans how hot it feels. Celsius is basically asking water how hot it feels. Kelvin is basically asking atoms how hot it feels. You know you've reached adulthood when your bed is in the middle of the wall instead of in the corner. It's surprising there aren't any conspiracy theories that the ocean is bottomless because most people have never been to the seafloor. Learning more advanced math in school basically unlocks more buttons of the calculator. The hardest thing to believe about Batman is that not one distant relative tried claiming him in order to inherit the Wayne fortune. There's a stranger out there who probably has a memory that involves you in it that they think about from time to time. If you don't wear the right clothes when you go for a run, you look like an insane person. A different version of you exists in the minds of everyone who knows you. If it wasn't for their fame, Harry, Ron, and Hermione probably wouldn't have gotten jobs since they didn't attend the last year of school and didn't take their leaving exams. As a kid, a wiggling tooth is exciting. As an adult, a wiggling tooth is terrifying. Apple treats you like a user, Android treats you like an admin. Every child deserves parents, but not all parents deserve children. While the tallest man has experienced everyone else's height and the heaviest man has experienced everyone else's weight, the richest man almost definitely hasn't experienced everyone else's wealth. Self-checkouts are saving thousands of teenagers from the embarrassment of their first condom purchases. People who post pictures of restaurant menus on Yelp when you can't find them anywhere else are the real MVPs. Amputating Mike Wazowski's legs would be exactly the same as beheading him. There are probably a bunch of parents who think their children are fussy eaters, when in reality they're just horrible cooks. If you put a map of your country on the floor, there will be a point on the map that is touching the actual point it refers to. Crispy is just crunchy but thin. Aquaman's skin is impenetrable by normal blades, bullets, and more. Which makes you wonder how he got his tattoos in the 2018 movie. When you think about it, Shakespeare was the result of billions of monkeys trying to write stuff randomly for millions of years. Bill Murray's character was lucky he got a good night's sleep the night before Groundhog Day, otherwise he'd have been exhausted the entire time he was stuck in the time loop. The larger the download button, the less safe it seems. Somewhere in the world there is one penguin who is the most gnarly, hardcore, badass penguin living by penguin standards, and to us it just looks like another chubby little bird.